zoning board of appeals for September 15, 2016. 5 minutes late, but next is approve agenda.
I'll make the motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay.
You gotta do roll call first.
I will handle roll call.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's it, I'm just... Engels.
Here.
Bontrager. Pavilio.
Here.
Knight.
Here.
Engels. Oh, got you already. I apologize. Gensink.
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Alt. Walkley. We have a quorum.
Okay. I will approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion, we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay.
Okay. Walkley. Gensink.
Here. Yep.
Knight.
Yes.
Alt. Pavilio.
Yes.
Bontrager. Engels.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes. Okay, the next one is approval of last meeting's minutes. Any questions or? Do I get a motion?
Motion to approve. Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Get a second?
Second. We'll give this one to Alan.
Wasn't here, so.
We'll give the second to Alan here.
Okay,
Let me, real quick, Nichols.
yes.
Pavilio.
Yes.
Bontrager. Knight.
Yes.
Gensink.
Yes.
Alt. Walkley. Engels.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, new business. Your time now.
I will take over. We have an application by Goodrich Theaters. They are the owners of the Cadillac 5 theater, and it is a variance having to do with the height of the projecting sign which they are proposing. Basically, they're looking to completely redo the front, the facade of the entire front of the building abutting Mitchell Street. We do have two folks with Goodrich Theaters. We have Reed Simon, who works with their corporate. He's an operational person, and I think vice president, correct?
Thank you for the promotion.
Okay.
Actually,
There's a salary increase in that, by the way. And then Richard, our local manager of the theater. Basically, you can see this is a pretty dramatic change. This is what the front of the building currently looks like, the type of signage that's on it. For example, it's an awning or a awning projection type of sign. I'm not sure what's the best description to use, but basically they're going to be eliminating this and going with a more cleaner looking the whole front of it. Basically, the Goodrich Group, they own 100 foot of frontage on South Mitchell Street. The lot is 130 feet deep. Basically, the lot is 13,000 square foot, and pretty much the building is 13,000 square foot. And it is 0.3 of an acre. So it's just less than a third of an acre. The zoning of it is B2 Central Business District, which is very consistent. It's the B2 district stretches about 5 or 6 blocks. Literally, if you go 2 blocks farther to the south of the Cadillac 5 Theater. It switches to a B3 district, which is more of a general business district. For example, Chemical Bank, half of their property is in the B2, and the half of it going to the south is B3. The Cobbs Mitchell building is B2, but the Monument business, they're B3. If you go up Cass Street, where currently the Emmington Insurance Building is at, and the old Olson's grocery store is at across the street from the theater, that is B2. But as soon as you cross that little side street and that parking lot that is across from the Peterson Funeral Home and the Peterson Funeral Home itself, that is a new business district also. So they are, their office service district, whereas like where the Shell station is at, and then basically from Chemical Bank heading south, that's a B3 general business. So while the immediate neighbors to the theater are B2 central business, you don't have to go far and you are out of the central business district. The variance they're asking for, the concept and the drawings and everything that you've been given in your packet, from what I understand, and Mr. Simon, if you have any questions, he might be able to answer it. But it appears as though the sign, let's see if I've got it right under here. I'm going to go to the new design real quick. Basically, from the designs that we've got, the sign will be projecting up, the proposed sign will be projecting up on the wall. It appears to be right around 24 feet up the wall. And the ordinance calls in a B2 district for wall signs not to exceed either the second story, or to be below the second story window, or to not exceed 15 feet, but in all cases it's got to be below the roof line. So what the variance has to do with projecting signs in the B2 district can extend out from the wall 42 inches and not require a variance. This only extends 40 inches. The size of this is larger than the ordinance calls for in a projecting sign of 6 square feet, but historically the city, when somebody has replaced a sign that is non-conforming, if they are replacing it with a smaller square footage, it doesn't come before the Zoning Board of Appeals. If they were to enlarge a non-conforming sign, that would need to come before you. But if they're replacing a non-conforming sign, those are things that historically the city has not required come before you because they're actually making the nonconformity less. Where this sign does need to come before you has to do with the height that they want to go up the building. The sign that they're proposing, Leo, we talked, I at first measured it wrong, but it appears that it's going to be right around 60 square foot. But this sign here that we're looking at, and I'm going to show you, Richard here helped me, but when we measured it from this point here to this point here, it's 14 feet across. So it's quite a stretch. This distance from here to here is 3.5 feet. And this distance from here up is even greater. So that could be another 5 foot or so. Because of the shape, etc., etc., you know, it could feasibly be 90 square feet or more, this feature right here. What is very interesting is, from my standpoint, is that this sticks out from the sidewalk literally 7.5 feet. Richard and I measured it. So it's certainly from a projection standpoint, it's very, very non-conforming. But ironically, I read something not in the sign ordinance for the central business district, but under the definition of awning signs, not projecting signs, they basically, in most business districts, allow that to be staff approved, regardless. So my gut feeling is this probably did not come before the Zoning Board of Appeals. It probably was staff approval, and when it says staff approval, it explicitly states the city engineer should be involved in that decision. So, you know, a projecting sign isn't an awning sign. You know, typically you like awnings to be, you know, 18 inches, 2 feet sticking out, not 7.5 feet. So, you know, it gets into the, is this a projecting sign or is this a awning type sign? I went over the size of it with you, which is what this is here, and again, that's what the building looks like currently. What I want to do is quickly go over what we do every time, section 4669.4 of the ordinance, which again is the part of the city ordinance that pretty much copies word for word the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act and the 5 standards that are required. The first standard that we're all familiar with is, would this impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent properties? Again, these findings are staff findings, which when I'm done, you know, you'll be able to discuss. But the finding is this proposed sign should have no impact on light and air to adjacent properties. The second standard, would this unreasonably increase congestion in public streets? Staff feels this should not impact traffic congestion on public streets in any way. The third standard, would this increase the danger of fire or endanger public safety? Staff feels public safety should not be affected. And mind you, this proposed sign, if it were to be allowed, you know, they would have to get mechanical permits. They would have to get electrical permits. All these things would be required. The fourth one is, would this unreasonably diminish or impair established property values within the surrounding area? Remodeling the exterior, staff opinion, of this older building's exterior and facade should actually increase property values. And quite frankly, with the work in the plaza, we're seeing a couple properties that have been for sale that the prices seem to be going up on them now. So this also has the potential of increasing property values. The fifth standard we always talk about is, in any other respect, would this impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the city? Again, staff feels this should not impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the city of Cadillac. Those are the 5 key findings through the Zoning Enabling Act and staff's opinion of the findings. What we do also have to look at is the sign ordinance, section 46664J. I included copies of this with your packets that I sent everyone, and that is what we will have, you know, discussion about, along with the standards, or the for the B2 Central Business District, the sign standards. You have that also. One thing that kind of jumped out at me as far as the section 46664J, under 3D, D basically mentions that before variance is granted, it should be shown that alleged hardship or particular difficulty of the person requesting the variance can result from conditions which do not exist generally throughout the city. Most of our business district sign regulations would, for example, allow a pole sign up to 40 feet in height and not require a variance. The central business district is a little different in that respect. That may make it unique. And as I'd mentioned, just down the road is the Shell station, 2 blocks down the road. Thankfully, that is right outside the B2 district, literally by 100 feet or so. Thankfully, they did not build a 40-foot sign. That one, I believe, is 28 feet in height. But this is a type of thing that literally can be built, and if it's within the square footage and height, it does not need to come before the Zoning Board of Appeals. For example, when Shell redid this recently, within the last couple of years, they actually wanted to expand the size of it. And I explained that they would have to come before you to do that, because it would then make it non-conforming in square footage. And they chose to basically redo it at the exact same dimensions. Just kind of updated it and, that sort of a thing. Again, I've mentioned if you go up Cass Street to the east, heading towards, for example, Peterson Funeral Home. Again, you're in business districts where people could put up very, very tall signs. I think a big reason we don't see that is a good part of the ordinance for these tall pole signs is, and we're pretty strict with it today. I don't know if they were 20 years ago, but we do require pole signs to be set back far enough from the road, the travel portion of the road, so if a tornado or whatever knocked it down, it technically shouldn't fall down in the road. That's one of the reasons I think we're able to keep a sign like this maybe from being 40 foot tall, is they would have to have it a minimum of 40 feet from the roadway, or we would just say no. They could, of course, come before you. They can always come before you. So that's kind of the one thing that made me think that maybe, it's kind of a unique condition. One thing that the other business districts have also is, particularly if you're doing any kind of wall-mounted sign, you cannot go above the rooftop. You've got to keep wall-mounted projection signs in other business districts below the roof line. You can't go above the roof line. A staff comment I've got, I think all of you know this, but the Goodrich Quality Theaters, they have made a substantial investment in the past couple of years to the theater. They've repaired or finished the exterior west wall where you now have the mural on the back of it. I think we've all seen it. That became expensive for them because they had to do tucking of bricks and etc. before paint could be applied, primer coat. But needless to say, due to the age of the building and everything, the old paint did have some lead in it. And the cost for, as Reed can tell you, that additional cost of properly dealing with that was substantial. Along with that, the theater they've made a pretty significant investment. I know in a lot of new seating, new carpeting, and they can speak of that more. But redoing the facade is really, another step of, them investing in this building to keep it around for a long time. The other thing I wanted to mention is we do have other projecting signs in the downtown B2 district which are greater in height than 15 feet. The most prominent example of a projecting sign going up quite high is the one at the Masonic Temple at 122 North Mitchell. And I included a picture of that. I think I put one in front of all of you. I didn't put it in your packet. I actually took this picture this morning. But when you kind of look at a projecting sign, for example, the one that Goodrich is proposing, projecting signs need to be at least 7 feet off the ground, as should an awning be at least 7 foot off the ground. And as you can see, this is up here, and I mean, here's your second story. It's way up here. And so this is one that clearly is up in that 25-foot range. I didn't get a ladder out and measure it, of course, but it just, I guess it's the one in our downtown that really strikes me as, being a significant projecting sign that is up there quite high. It is, of course, below the roof line, but this is a 3-story building, whereas the theater, I would call it more like a 2.5-story building maybe, but so this one is up there quite high also. Notices of this public hearing were provided not less than 15 days prior to the hearing date. We placed it in the newspaper, and we also sent notices to all property business owners within 300 feet of the site. We did not receive any questions, any comments per se. Nobody had any concerns with it. What we did receive was a letter, written response from the Downtown Development Authority. They were supporting the request. I put a copy of their letter in for you here. And one of the things that they really, I'm going to go down here a little bit, one of the things that they really struck them that they liked was the fact that the front of this building does not have any windows. They really liked the scale of it. You know, they thought, you know, certainly below the roof line, they thought, boy, it's just, you know, they thought it was just a very attractive, classy look. What they really thought was going to be neat was a person coming into town from Cass Street, coming down the hill, stopping at that stop sign, and, you know, what a difference this is to what they've got there now. So the DDA was showed this, they talked about it, and they just thought, boy, this is potentially one more step towards, you know, the downtown development that ties in with all the other things that we're doing. About the last thing I just want to mention before it's discussion with you folks is, you know, based on a fact finding of compliance, non-compliance with the standards, the board shall approve with conditions, or deny the variance application. Reasonable conditions may be attached to an approval in order to achieve compliance with the standards. With that, I'm going to open up for discussion amongst you. If you have questions for me, I may be able to answer them. Does anyone have any questions for me? We do have Mr. Simon here, so. Open it up for public comments now. You want to say anything?
Other than thank you for considering this. We certainly appreciate it. We love being in Cadillac, and he does such a thorough job. I don't have much to add, but I'm here for any questions you folks might have. Love to answer it for you, or at least try to. Now that I'm the vice president, especially,
No, public comments. You got any comments or?
I'd like, I think this is an important project too. I think it's, a beautiful part of the downtown with the Baker dorms and the plaza, and the theater will be a nice part of that. It's definitely better than what they have on there now. I think it looks wonderful, and especially with the Downtown Development Authority supporting it. I definitely would be ready to approve it with nothing but staff conditions. So I think it's a great idea and a wonderful thing. And as far as the strict application of the variance, like you said, this is like the main intersection in Cadillac there. So, you know, and with the support from the authority, I think it's, good plan and a good job. So I like it a lot.
Any other comments? Or we got a motion?
I got a question on my sanity.
Mm-hmm.
What's the little button things on there?
I wonder that.
you talking about on the yellow band right there?
Yeah.
Those are simply light fixtures.
The what?
They're light fixtures.
Oh,
They're cool.
okay. My curiosity is satisfied then.
That was one of the first questions I had to him as well. What are the crosses?
One comment I want to make is, again, and it's not so much a recommended condition, but particularly when we talked a couple of years ago about the Clam Lake projecting sign, it was kind of important that, it be fastened to the wall in a fashion where you don't have chains or cables or anything like this. And, you know, this obviously is attached to the building. It's projecting 40 inches, and all building mechanical inspections would need to be done, electrical inspections. So, you know, it's not so much a recommended condition as, you know, this kind of a project requires very, very specific building, electrical, mechanical inspections. And that's just, it's required. It's not a condition.
How far does the sign come out?
40 inches.
So, Mr. Simons, I'm assuming that the sign it's going to be built into the building. There aren't going to be any chains or any
No, there is
supports
not.
that are...
In fact, we'll make sure that it's my understanding that we'll be making sure that the building wall and such has proper support. We've met with some structural folks who are doing some very preliminary things to make sure that the wall will support it. If not, we'll do the additional support that's needed. This fund is for the long term, and it's for our benefit just as much as it is yours that it looks attractive. We don't want to do something that's detrimental.
I guess the only problem I have is 2 meetings ago, we turned down another one because the rules that we have for signs is, I feel, out of date. And now we got another one and we have the same problem, that it's not conforming to the rules that we have. I'm kind of wondering, maybe the rules that we have in place should be changed instead of coming to the appeals board. It's a personal thought.
Well, we addressed that last meeting for the city to address that, so...
And I think the difference between the two scenarios is in one case, they had a sign that was conforming and they wanted to make it non-conforming.
Yeah.
In this instance, we have a non-conforming sign and they want to reduce the non-conformity. So it's
There were houses...
the direction that we're going. I understand that the square footage and those issues or considerations need to be addressed, but I think they're two different situations because of where we're beginning and where they wanted to end up.
Well, like the last one had property concerns, because even though the pastor, they had support from the people who lived in the house next to the church, I mean, the next people may or may not like, you know, the larger lit sign, like that's what you were saying to me. Those are right in neighborhoods.
Also, the church is not in a commercial...
Yeah.
It's as long as it's in a residential zone, big difference there, too.
I think we had future property. Even if things were out of date, I'd have some concerns that future property owners might still have a problem with that one, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting a smaller sign.
We're
going the right way.
Right.
But that one looks nice, and the improvements that you've done already are improvement to the city. There's no doubt about it.
Carl, I would like to add that DK Design, who helped the church with their, you know, concept and everything, they have made a request, a letter to the Planning Commission to review the sign ordinance, you know, think of potential changes, because the residential sign ordinance is, it's different, and but they asked specifically that the Planning Commission look at reviewing the current ordinance to consider potential changes, and if they thought changes would be for the best, then of course to make a recommendation to City Council. So, you know, that did go one step farther.
Good.
In that, you know, and that is on John Wallace's, you know, to-do list is, you know, get a committee together, and I know that, you know, when he does, we'll ask if any of you want to participate in it, because that would make a lot of sense.
We have a motion or not?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve. It meets the standards. I would like the narrowness of the decision, you know, pertaining, we grant the variance because this is, you know, the central location in downtown. It's part of the downtown development, you know, project. And I think, you know, if you get away from that, you don't have to follow the same. So I think we have a little bit of strictness in what we're doing. And I'd like to make the motion to approve it with the staff recommendation that there doesn't become changing cables, which we already heard that I got assurances that there was. So a motion to approve the variance.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All right, you want Bontrager, Alt, Allen,
Yeah.
Engels,
Yes.
Knight. Yes. Walkley, Pavilio,
Yes.
Genzik.
Yes.
Motion passes. We can't wait to get my vote.
You're wrong.
Well, that's a yes anyway.
I got skipped twice, so that's all right.
Did I skip you? I thought I included you. No?
Huh?
Oh, I thought I included you in the vote here. Guys,
Well, you get to do it, so you make sure you're out from that, we don't see you again. Okay.
Is it the thought process that yet this year or spring or?
We're certainly hoping to get her done this year. We've got we're working up some of the architecture a bit more, turning up our design, and then, as I said, we actually want to make sure, just as you folks do, that the structure can be supported by the existing building, and if not, we need to reinforce. So that's one of the reasons why I was here this morning, is meeting with someone who knows more about that than me.
Again, thank you for staying downtown too. I know one time you guys were looking at moving it, but it's nice to have it in the heart of downtown, so.
You really do.
Done a great job, appreciate it.
I think it's a big improvement, and I appreciate what you're doing.
There's an article in the paper about future movies not being shown on the sign out front.
There's the truth of that. You'll see it right here. That's becoming more and more common. A couple different reasons for it. In fact, I was speaking with someone from the news today explaining it to them. We recently, right now, the old building, or the current existing building, has one marquee out front that has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we put that in approximately the same time as the awning. That was in the days of film, where the 5-screen theater complex only had 5 movies. Nowadays, with the advent of digital technology, we sometimes have 6, 7, or 8 movies here. Other times we can be showing things like, not here yet, but we'll be showing operas or other special events and that sort of thing. So the old 5-band marquee, when you have that many movies, it doesn't work well. So knowing we want to do this, we kind of wanted to get people in the community acclimated to the idea of going to listen to our telephone system, which gets the show times, or most young folks nowadays just do it on their iPhone. In addition, one thing we didn't talk about here is some communities, when we're doing signage now, would prefer not to have the titles up because people are slowing down to read the titles over the theaters and causing a little bit of traffic congestion. So nowadays, not just Goodrich quality theaters, but many theater exhibitors simply aren't doing it for those reasons. Just so many titles, and because of the concerns about traffic congestion and such. So we didn't include it as part of the new plan partly for those reasons. But the big one, truthfully, is it's just everyone nowadays, at least everyone younger. I'm at that crux of 53, so I still like looking at the newspaper. But most of the younger folks are just automatically going to their phones.
So what's your thought process on the 6 small framed-in areas? Are those still going to be posters, or are they going to be televisions? Or
the game plan is to continue to utilize the posters. It's a good advertising thing, plus it does get some pedestrian traffic. Plus, there's a lot of people who simply don't. My mother being the classic example, she doesn't even know how to turn on the television or on the computer.
Okay.
So this particular, we'll still have the information, people want to see what the ratings and that sort of thing are on the posters. And one of them, just as it is now, will be a directory board, at least that's the game plan, that shows the titles, ratings, and the show times.
Nice.
Good enough.
Okay. I guess there's no miscellaneous business, right?
I would like to just take a quick second and
Okay.
show you. I just wanted to let you folks know that earlier this summer I did get an inquiry from a company. The Masonic was looking at maybe refurbishing that sign.
Yay.
And they were asking what they needed, and I basically told them they could, keep it the same size, etc. You know, but if they were to expand it or something, they would need to come before you. But of course, they would require mechanical permits, electrical permits when they remount it, and et cetera. So I don't know if they have the money, but they did inquire as to if they could, you know, refurbish it and put it back up, whatever. So I don't know where it's going to go, but, you know, and so that was it.
My question on signs like that have been there for some time, is there a process in place where they have to be inspected for safety reasons? Every time I walk on that, I kind of look at it like it's pretty rusty and it's pretty high. And, yeah.
I am going to say no,
okay,
unless if somebody requests the city do something because they feel it's specifically unsafe, and at that point we would have probably our fire marshal or our city engineer make a decision to have the building inspector, mechanical inspector, you know, I mean, there obviously would be a process to remove something that is dangerous.
okay,
And if they didn't, for example, if it was deemed to be dangerous and they didn't take care of it, we would in fact do it. They would get the bill, and, you know, so we prefer they do it, but, you know, there's no question of, you know.
at least they're looking at the possibility of making it a little more attractive. So
Yes. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because the case here was a similar one.
Question completely separate from the sign. If this is the wrong venue to do it, stop me. But one of the reasons you may notice it says Cadillac and not Cadillac 5 is we're giving some thought to taking those two theaters at the end, auditoriums 4 and 5, which was originally a large single-screen theater and venue. We wanted, back in, again, the days of 35mm film where you had the screen, you had one movie, we wanted to maximize the number of prints we showed. But that was never the prettiest presentations we have. I refer to them jokingly as bowling alley theaters. At least the one is very narrow. The other one, it's okay. We're thinking about unsplitting that and making that one much larger auditorium. As folks who are invested in the community, what's more important to you folks? Would you prefer to keep 5 screens so you have a slightly larger selection, or would you like to get one larger screen that popped?
Well,
larger.
especially, you know, if you got some of these hot movies like Star Trek, that, you know, you got more place to put people in to watch it.
That's not that. It's the whole reason we go to the theater is because we want to see a large screen that you don't get that, you know, that sensation at home. So
We're giving it some serious thought. That's why I bring it up. That's something that's kind of in the back of our head to maybe do even as early as next year. We have to make a little bit of money. We're building a theater in Florida right now, but we have to make a lot of money there before we do that. If that goes well for us, you'll see us again in a couple months. Thank you.
Okay. Any board member comments? Well, then we'll call quits for the night. Adjourn.
Thank you very much.